It added to the creepiness and to the chills that I felt. Hello besties, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my January reading wrap up. I read only thrillers this month. I read 14 thrillers, and honestly my stress levels were thriving, so let's get into it. I'm going to talk about the books in the order I read them in, and the first book that I read was The Collective. This book is about a grieving mother who joins a secret group of women who believe that the justice system has failed them and who quietly take revenge on men who've escaped punishment. I gave this book 3 stars. The premise was very strong. It was really interesting, especially with the dark web and like the secret chat groups, etc. But I wanted more. The book never fully committed. It didn't wow me in any way. I felt emotionally distant from the characters. The pacing was also slow, in my opinion, for the interesting things to kick off and start. And I overall wanted more rage and more payoff. It was a very interesting idea, but I think the execution lacked in, I don't know, sass, you know? So yeah, I ended up giving it 3 stars. It's not bad by any means, but during the month, I read better. And with that being said, the next book that I read is called How to Kill Men and Get Away with It by Katy Brent. This book is the first book in a series. It is about a popular influencer who starts deleting men who, of course, she thinks that they deserve it. But she quickly realizes that she's really, really good at it. And she's also starting to enjoy it. The more she does it, the more she craves it. I love the vibe of this book so much. It is a comedic, dark thriller, unhinged, completely chaotic. It is very, very bold. It is not perfect by any means, but I love the funny comments and I loved our FMC. She's very messy and she's like ridiculously entertaining, and yeah, I really loved it. It was unique, and if you love feminine rage with a dash of comedy, I think you would love this one. I gave it 4 stars. And the next book that I picked up was Outstanding, The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. In this book, we are following Shay, and after she hears about the horrific death of an old friend, she goes back to a place she vowed never to return to, and she infiltrates a secret cult that includes very powerful men, and we start to uncover the truth little by her, and also we start to know more about her past. And the story unfolds in the form of a podcast. We have chapters in the present with the podcast, and that takes us to her memories and what happened in the past. And the book just caught me hooked. I couldn't put it down. The audiobook is phenomenal. The podcast element in this book is done so well, and the story grabs you and does not let go. It is so dark. It is very dark. If you have triggers, read trigger warnings. It was so good. Very well executed. I don't want to talk too much about the cult. I want you to discover the book and go in blind. Don't read the synopses. Just with the information that I said to you, that is more than enough. And believe me when I tell you, you are going to have a great time. Very disturbing, unforgettable, not an easy read by any means, but it is an incredibly powerful one. And of course, I gave it 5 stars. No hesitation. It was phenomenal. The next book that I read is called The Family Game by Catherine Stedman. This book talks about a woman who gets married into a very wealthy family who love games and puzzles, especially the dad, only to realize maybe she's put herself in a very sensitive position and maybe these games are more serious and deadly than she thought. Now, I loved the concept of the book. It was so fun with very strong atmosphere, but I loved to see, I wished we had more games. I wished we had we dove into the games and the puzzles side of the story more, especially when you make it towards the end of the book with that last game. I wanted more of that, like that. I mean, I wanted more of that atmosphere because I remember 2 memorable games, and I'm not sure if we got more, but I mean, it is rich family drama and it was fast-paced, especially towards the end, but I wanted more. I felt like the tension never fully lands. I gave it 3 stars, but if you enjoy rich family drama, 100% recommend it. The next book that I read is called Next of Kin by Kia Abdullah. Now, this book talks about a woman, her name is Layla. She receives a call from her brother-in-law in the morning, early in the morning when she was headed to work, and he needed help with driving their son, him and her sister's son, he's a toddler, to the nursery. So she goes, she picks him up, and then she drives to work, and she completely forgets about him in the car on the hottest day of the year. And you can already tell what happens next. It was a tragedy, and the book starts from there. This book surprised me in the best way possible, because when you read the first couple of chapters, you're like, okay, she clearly forgot about him. It was a horrific tragedy, but like, she forgot about him. He was sleeping. She didn't hear him in the car. And yeah, but then the investigation starts. And yeah, everything blows up. It was so good. Pure stress, short chapters, relentless pacing, and 0 breaks. I inhaled this book and loved every second of the psychological torment. Highly recommend Next of Kin. And of course, I gave it 5 stars. The next book that I read is called The Blink of an Eye by Joy Callahan. This is the first book in a series. And in this book, we are following a detective woman who partners with an AI or an experimental AI system to solve cold cases. If you love AI, if you don't love AI, I think this is an eye-opening book that really focuses, because the detective, she hates AI and everything to do with AI. So I really loved that from the start. But then we get to see the positive and the negative, and we get to see how it could be helpful in some ways to have that kind of intelligence working to investigate crimes and being more objective and maybe more mathematical and logical, but also how important to have a human side to get better results or a better investigation. I really thought the premise of the book is very interesting and very relevant, especially now. But for me, this book was more procedural than thrilling. We have a lot of investigation, a lot of like police members and detectives, procedures, and I really thought the idea was very solid, but it just didn't grab my attention because I didn't get those thrilling, exciting things, like maybe towards the end of the book, but not along the way. So yeah, but a lot of people said that to continue on with the series. I gave this one 3 stars. The next book that I picked up was The Family Experiment by John Marrs. In this book, we are in the future, and it's like a dystopian future where having kids is a luxury. So instead, people sign up to raise virtual children through VR, and 10 couples get chosen for a reality TV show to do this in front of everyone else. And they raise a baby from the baby stage to 18 years old in the span of 9 months, with the chance to win either their virtual child, to keep that virtual child, or to replace it, give it back, and get a real one instead, a real person. The first thing that bothered me about this book is that we have a huge cast of characters. We are following all these 10 couples, so 20 people total, and it got confusing at times because not all of them are very distinguishable, and most of them are very unlikable. And in the book, we also get hints about other books that are set in this universe. I saw from some reviews that the one and the passengers got hinted at. I understood the hints, but yeah, if you want to read those books before, maybe you should read them before, but it's not a huge thing. For me, is that the idea was very fascinating, like the concept of AI children, but the book wasn't. I found the execution, I didn't like the execution. It was a bit shallow for me. I wanted to see more of the VR or AI children interacting more, or maybe having some kind of a dangerous impact on real life. We didn't get that. And yeah, I ended up giving the book 3 stars. It was good, but it wasn't, I wanted more. The next book that I read is called Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. This book is a cozy, sapphic farmer's market on the surface, with cupcakes and honey and homemade things and a lot of flowers and a lot of smells and a lot of scents, and how this cupcake tastes. And it is so cozy. But then Rosemary, the FMC, she becomes infatuated with Ash. She's the seller who is making all this stuff at the farmer's market. And like, as I said, she becomes like unhealthily obsessed with her. It's the first time she feels that way towards a woman, and she does not know what to do with her feelings. And we get to know them or follow her on a daily basis, I want to say. The story is very much a slow burn, because you feel like it is like creeping on something is coming. It is this creeping dread, but you don't know what is going on. There is this feeling of discomfort most of the time, because we don't really know what's going on until we do. Towards the very end of the book, like, it goes from nothing is happening until like, oh my god, what is going on? As I said, it is a slow burn. You have to be patient. You have to savor the book and just go along with it. Just live your day-to-day life with Rosemary. But the ending, my jaw was on the floor. A twist upon a twist. It was so well done. I didn't give it 5 stars though. I gave it 4 stars, but I don't know, because you know why? I know why. Because nothing happens in the book. It's like this cozy feeling, but not a cozy, because when you dig deep, or like you read between the lines, you're like, okay, things do not add up. Something wrong is happening here. But it is a great book. For me, I didn't give it 5 stars because I didn't get that wow feeling towards leading to the end, like while reading the book, but I got it towards the end. Like, yeah, the ending of the, I will never forget that ending. Maybe it deserves 5 stars. I don't know. The ending was so explosive. You have to read it. Also, it is very short. I think it's 200 something pages. You have to read it. Now, the next book that I read and that I gave 5 phenomenal big stars to is The Butcher by Jennifer Hillier. And the audiobook was phenomenal. Please, if you decide to read this book, do yourself a big favor. Pick up the audiobook, because it was so well done. It added to the creepiness and to the chills that I felt during my experience with this book. It was so very well done. We are following a girl or a woman who believes that her mother was the victim of the butcher. He was a very well-known serial killer. But the problem is that the butcher was deleted 5 years before her mother got deleted too. So yeah, and we follow her as she uncovers the truth. She's an author. It was so dark because we get the butcher's POV in the book, and I mean, from the second chapter, from the second chapter, don't read the synopsis, don't read the synopsis. From the second chapter, you will have your jaw on the floor. Believe me, I read the ending of the second chapter. I was like, no way. What's going? I stopped in my tracks. I was like, oh. It was so good. This book was absolutely amazing. It was dark, very disturbing. Check trigger warnings, 100%. A lot of things, or most of the things, happen on page. Horrific things. And I really, really believe this is what this author, Jennifer Hillier, should write. Specifically this, like these disturbingly terrifying stories. She writes them so well, because I also read another book by her this month that I will mention also now, but it doesn't measure to this one. It is what she excels at. She's a master in this. It was so well done, but also so horrible and horrific. Just a warning, 5 stars. The next one that I read was very emotional. It is called Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This book follows a mother or a family and what happened to this family after their daughter disappeared, I think 15 years ago. But mainly we follow the mother. And then something happens and we start uncovering what happened in the past through this series of heartbreaking revelations, I want to say. This was more emotional than twisty, but it was incredibly devastating. It hurt my heart. I nearly cried, or maybe I cried a little bit towards the end because it was so devastating. I gave it 4 stars because it wasn't as fast-paced as I wanted it to be, and also not as thrilling. Towards the end, when we got the revelations, yes, but it is more of a character-driven story. We follow the mother. But it was so well done. I will never forget this story. The next book that I read is Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier. Now, this does not measure up to The Butcher, but it was still a good read. I gave it 3 stars. It was not as dark as The Butcher, but it was still an interesting story. It opens up with a woman, with the police entering the house of a well-known comedian, and we find that his wife is covered in blood with a razor in her hand, and her husband, who is the famous person, the comedian in the story, is, and we follow that investigation. So yeah, it really looks bad for her, but what really scares her is not the murder investigation as much as she does not want them to dig too deep into her past. Especially with, or I'm not going to say to talk about that because maybe it is getting into spoilery territory, but I don't recommend reading the synopsis for this one. Go into it blind so you get the most excitement out of this book. It was well written, but it was heavy and slower paced, especially like after reading The Butcher. This was like a step down, and also I think it was published before The Butcher. So yeah, if you want to read her books, I think you can start with this one because it is a solid read. But because I read it after The Butcher, they are not the same at all. And I love that one so much. But definitely, if you love reading about celebrities, especially, and like people with secret pasts, I think you will enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars. The next book is a book that I think everyone read in January upon release date. I read it the day it released. My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. It was phenomenal. It delivered on every single level, and the audiobook was amazing with sound effects. It was so well done. So very well done. I loved it so much. I read the book and also followed with the audio at the same time. It was so very well done. A psychological thriller at its best. We follow Eden. Eden goes out for a run in the morning. When she comes back to her house, her key does not work. She knocks on the door. A woman opens the door and she's like, "Who are you?" And Eden's like, "Who are you? It's my house." And then her husband appears behind the woman and he's like, "No, this one is Eden. You're not her. You're an imposter." and the story starts from there. What can I tell you? It was so twisty, absolutely unhinged in the best way possible. It was sharp and twisty and deeply, deeply unsettling. I loved it so, so much. I couldn't put it down. Yeah, highly, highly recommend. Of course, 5 stars. The next book is by none other than Miss Frida McFadden, Dear Debbie. In this book, we follow a woman who is a columnist. She writes in a magazine, and all her life, like, she gave these reasonable, calm solutions to these housewives about their men and also about other things, but mainly related to men. Until her life completely falls apart when she loses her job. Her husband is starting to act shady, and there is something wrong with her daughter. And suddenly she flips. She's not going to be mature about it anymore. And we start to uncover things also about her. And things get very messy, very, very fast. And in Frida McFadden style, this was so addictive, so bingeable. I couldn't put it down. I loved the audiobook of this one too. I believe we had 3 narrators. Yeah, very fast-paced, very straightforward, very bingeable. Loved it. I gave it, I mean, it wasn't very subtle, but it was something different. It is different from her. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I read is called Paper Cup by Rachel Taff. This is a debut novel. In this book, we are following Lucy Golden. She's a woman and an author who got famous because of deleting her way out of a cult. Now she's in a documentary, and she's also dealing with a stalker and a messy past and trolls on the internet, and also messy family drama because her mother is the most toxic mother I have ever read about. I hate her with every fiber of my being. She's awful. And Lucy gets famous after she writes a book about what happened in that cult. And the book is divided in like chapters from the present when we are filming this documentary, and chapters from her excerpts from her book, and also chapters with her day-to-day life and her relationship with people around her and also her family. This book had me spiraling. It was genuinely fascinating, especially what she went through as a child. I really, really felt for her. With that being said, it was a little bit underwhelming as a thriller book. I was expecting more twists and edge of your seat moments, but it ultimately read like a true crime cult documentary. If it were nonfiction, I believe I'd give it 5 stars, but because it was categorized as thriller and I didn't get those thrilling moments, I ended up giving it 3 stars. But with that being said, as a debut novel, this was very well written. If you only want to take a few books, few top recommendations from my reading wrap up this month, please pick up The Butcher, The Last Housewife, and My Husband's Wife. Those 3 will ruin your sleep, will mess with your brain, and keep you turning the pages like a maniac. I love them so much. And yeah, if you made it this far, first of all, subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. And let me know what were your favorite reads from the month of January, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!